It's indecent, the lack of humanity, and that we had to wait to get this long to fight back. It's not okay. It's not okay. And then people, always want to bring up and deflect. Well, what about all the riots? They're destroying this, that, and the other. But they won't mention the lives. They won't stand up for the black lives that are falling and that are dying. What about all the destruction? Well, I'll tell you this. They're like, every protest should be peaceful. Well, do you think we got here this far with getting, these few little breadcrumbs of human rights for disenfranchised people by saying, please and thank you, sir. Can I have another, sir? And begging. We didn't get this far. It's June. June is Pride Month. How do you think gay rights came to be? You ever heard of a place called Stonewall? They didn't edit back then, but the newspaper read something that, we don't really kind of say today. But basically it was referring to gays. And it said, those gays, they finally stood up for themselves and fought back. But it said the little 3-letter F word in the newspaper. But it was true. That's how we advance forward. If you don't know about Stonewall, it was a little club. It was a mafia-run club. So the mafia supplied this club with alcohol because it was pretty much banned and outlawed to be gay. So the mafia would rob trucks of their alcohol, and then they would bring it to these clubs that they owned, and one of them was Stonewall. So then they jack up the rates of the alcohol, they'd sell the alcohol for a high amount of money so they could make their money. Well, since the mafia had the police in their back pocket, the mafia said, do not raid my club. And if you do, to just keep up appearances so you can go back to the city and the police chief and say, hey, we're doing our job. We're actually out here raiding, just to look like they're doing their job. They said only raid it on these days, and these were not the popular days for Stonewall Inn. So they knew only a few gay people would be out partying on those days. So that's when the police was supposed to go raid Stonewall Inn, when it was just a few people. Well, they made a mistake. And they got their schedule wrong, and they showed up when the gays were out in full force. And the police showed up and raided the club, and the people were not having it. There was one lesbian, she ran out and the police started hitting her with batons and stuff, and she fought back. And when they saw her fighting back, everybody started fighting back. Then they locked the police inside of the club and they set it on fire. They sure did. You're like, oh, Marty, that sounds terrible. That sounds so violent and horrific. Well, it got the world's attention. It certainly did. And then that's how you have pride. That's how you have gay pride. That's where it came from. Everybody's just waving flags and oh, let's have pride. Think about where it came from. Why people like myself, people all over the world have the freedoms that they do. I think it's limited. I think we have a long way to go, but sometimes you have to stand up, you have to fight back. The Civil Rights Act of 1968, it was born through rioting, 6 days of rioting, and it got revised and reworked and made it a whole lot more palatable for Black people, for disenfranchised and marginalized people. It covers people with disabilities and covers sexuality, sexual orientation, religion. It got revised for the people. They stood up and they fought back. They didn't say please and thank you, sir, for the mistreatment and the baton upside my head. It's okay that you treat us this way. Let's just do a peaceful protest 110% of the time. That's not reality. That didn't get you here today. You have any pigmentation in your skin, it didn't get you here today. If you're LGBTQ, it didn't get you here today. By begging and pleading. So people, I charge you with this and myself. We have to make the difference. We have to make this world change. As a kid, we would have conversations about, do you believe you can change the world? We would talk about this stuff, like in the ghetto. We were like ghetto kids. And just poor as all get out. But we would have these conversations and ask each other these questions and say, do you think you could really change the world? And I remember having different answers, different years being asked that question. Sometimes I was like, no, there's just no hope for us as humans, as the human race. We're doomed, we're cursed. We eat each other. Nobody cares about each other. I remember saying that and having those conversations as a kid before I reached 10 years old. And then other times I answered differently. I had more hope. And I said, yeah, and I'm gonna grow up and change the world. I'm here to tell you today, we can change the world. Hold on to that hope. Keep fighting for what's right. Keep standing up. People are seeing it. Some people won't say anything. I thought about deleting 1,000 plus of my Facebook friends. Because I was like, why are none of these people saying anything? Why are none of them responding to anything? I was just like, I'm just done. I'm just gonna delete 1,000 of them. That sign, end white silence. Like they're not saying anything. It's like I just might as well delete them. And I was getting ready to do it, but I was like, I don't really have time to delete 1,000 people. How long does that take? Like a week, 2 weeks? Like I don't have that kind of time. And then somebody sent me a message that I hadn't heard from in like maybe 7 years. And they sent me a message. And I thought, let me hold on to the hope that I know that I have in my heart. Because people are actually seeing, they're watching, they're listening. Everybody's not like you. Everybody's not like me. You know, I'm an extrovert. When somebody's like, let's go do something, I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. Some people are introverts. It's hard to get them out of the house, you know, if there's not a job to go to or something like that. People are different. So I have to hold on to that hope. I have to allow people to grow and to get to where they get to in life, to be able to practice the initiatives that they can put forth in life. Everybody's fight, the way that they fight, isn't the same. We need to hold on to that hope. I'm not saying don't challenge the people around you. Challenge them. But if they're not moving as fast as you do, let's still remember to hold on to hope, okay? I just want to thank all of you for being here. This is a smaller crowd, but I don't care if it was just one of you. It's important. Thank you for being here. Let's continue to stand up. Let's continue to go forth in the world and change it. It needs so much change. Are you ready to continue to stand up? Thanks again for being here. Thanks so much. Black Lives Matter.